literally because of that joint effort, that the mindset, the being able to share in those low moments as well as the high moments, keeping grounded, also loads of different layers. I think even just accountability for me, for example, accountability. Before I got married and you met my wife, I wasn't independent, and I didn't have really a sense of responsibility until then. So once I got married, I became more accountable. I became more responsible as a man, became a man essentially. I was a boy before then. I became a man after that. And then she's held me accountable since. So then I had a period of time when I was addicted to weed, and she would not allow that to happen. And she would be very vocal about how much she didn't like it. But she didn't do it in a way which was, she allowed me to go through that process but kept me accountable along the way, if that makes sense. And loads of other things, even to this day. But even when I have low moments, to be there to say, hey, just keep going, But I think it makes all the difference. And we don't really relate a lot, especially in trading. We don't really put too much emphasis on a lot of things outside of trading.
Yeah.
When in reality, a lot of things outside of trading impact directly our trading. So I think it's that, That would be my answer anyway. Normally I don't talk too much on the pod. There's going to be comments now like, stop talking.
No, man, I think it's great to hear your perspective. And, some things, we need to be honest about trading, right? It's not really in and of itself some altruistic thing. We're not curing cancer here. We're trying to make money, right? And there's some things that money can't buy. Money can't buy a good relationship with your wife. Only you can do that. And if it pays off and helps to make you a better trader, and then you're able to have impact beyond your trading once you make money, as long as you're mentally well and stable. If you make a bunch of money, if I make a bunch of money trading and I'm mentally unstable, I'm going to blow it. I'm going to the Lambo dealership. I'm going to the strip club. I'm calling the drug dealer. There are like all these horror stories of this stuff.
Yeah.
Again, that happens. If you're not ready for that money, you'll get it and you'll lose it.
Yeah. So it goes quick money. Is it fast money in, fast money out? It's like some say along the lines.
I think it was either Warren Buffett or Charlie Munger, but they said a fool and his money will soon be parted.
Mm-hmm.
That's another one.
It's wisdom, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
One interesting thing, just in terms of that process you mentioned as well, in terms of health, right? How important and how directly has that impacted your trading? Even the jiu-jitsu, a more specific question for that one is, because jiu-jitsu is kind of like a puzzle piece, right? You have to figure out leverage and movement. Like how much do you take that thought process you have to do when focusing on that into your trading as well, as a more specific example?
Yeah, there are overlaps. In jiu-jitsu, there are a lot of decision tree elements, and before anyone attacks me, I'm no jiu-jitsu master or anything like that, right? I'm a total hobbyist. Same with boxing, total hobbyist. I'm not claiming to be a martial arts expert or anything like that, but I do find great benefits from it. And I do think it's something that everyone should at least consider doing. And to get back to your question, it's very symbolic of trading. However, I think that jiu-jitsu, trading, life, there are overlaps in all of these things as long as our eyes are open to see it. The more healthy I am, the more well-rested I am, the better I'm going to train in jiu-jitsu. When I'm training right in jiu-jitsu and my mind's sharp and my physicality sharp, I'm at the desk, I'm alert, I'm looking at signals, I'm able to separate the signal from the noise. I'm able to carry on a full conversation with the guy to my left, who is an excellent trader, and I can say, hey, did you see stock XYZ? Did you see this deal that they announced? This looks like a good trade. And he says, what's going on? I explain the story to him. I explain where we're at. I explain maybe it's an asymmetric bet. Maybe this is a good time to get in. Hey, I'm buying 50,000 shares. And he looks at it and he's like, man, this is a great trade. I love this. I'm buying 200. And I'm like, okay, well, why am I just buying 50? And I have to think about it. Is it fear? Is it a limiting belief? Is it because I'm respecting my risk and that's where I'm at? If that's not where I'm at, can I push myself out of my comfort zone? Okay, it's not a competition. I don't need to buy 200, but maybe I can beef it up to 100. And maybe we start to really talk about it. And we talk to some other people that we respect. And, 1 + 1 = 3, right? The conversation starts to flow and we say, hold on a second. Either we're missing something or this is a great fucking trade. And if we could be in 200,000, if the liquidity's there, why not be in 1 million shares? And we start to grow and feed off of each other like that. And that can only be done when you're physically, mentally present. If I'm fat, sick, tired, I can't have those good conversations. You know, I can, but they'll be at such a low frequency that everyone's just kind of like right?
That thought process you just shared there, you know, that exact example, what was the reality of you getting to that point, that sort of flow, that sort of state? You know, was that a period of time building towards?
Yeah. Reps, constant reps, you know, the mentor that I mentioned earlier, Kenny, old school, right? Talk about every trade. If you can't talk about it, don't do it. Call your trades out. Talk about what you're doing. Talk about it out loud. Talk about your plan. And if you have good partners around you and your plan is not well thought out, they're going to call you out on that. You know, now they might not call you out and humiliate you. They might, but ideally they won't, right? And if they do humiliate you, it'll be good natured. But call your trades out. Discuss your plans. Talk about what you're doing. And then maybe you'll get lucky and be in a situation like me where I mention something to someone who's senior to me. They like it. I mentioned the size I'm in. They're buying 4, 5, 10 times more. And I'm like, oh, well, why do you like it so much? And they can tell me something, some angle that they have on it that I didn't realize because they see it through their experience that I don't yet have. And I say, oh, that's like that flashlight I was telling you, right? They're like, well, I look at it like this. And I'm like, oh, shit. I never thought about that. You're absolutely right. I felt like I was risking $1 on this trade, but the way you're looking at it is, now we're risking 50 cents and a disaster. And that's probably not even going to happen. Our issue is going to be, we're not in enough. We need to be in this trade. All right. So you call them out, you talk about them, you start to flow, you get to know your partners, you get to know who you're trading with, and you start to cultivate trust and energy and flow. Ideally, this is kind of silly, but what we call at Fifth Lane, what we're trying to call our trading floor, because we're still very small, right? 50 million AUM is not big for a hedge fund. Now, when we get to lever it up, you know, that's plenty of money because there's only like 5 of us trading it. It's a lot of bread. It's plenty. We can do plenty of damage. But our small group, we call it the Garden of Eden. It's what we're trying to cultivate and develop. We want things to be right. We want people to be able to trust each other to trade as big as they want within reason, right? You earn that right. You don't just come in and start slinging, right? But once trust is developed, trust in your process, risk management is so key. Right? You can't just come in and start trying to print money with no risk management. You have to stay in the game. One of the biggest parts of the game is staying in the game. Avoid existential risk. You can't get carried out on a stretcher. That's it, man. You got to stay in the game. You got to stay in the game, right? And once all of those are agreed upon and understood, and everyone knows that we can trust each other, that's how you start to cultivate that energy and that flow and grow.
One interesting aspect of your journey, as we said, you traded at Kirshner, which is a very professional environment, quite a renowned prop firm as well. You're trading in a very, very professional environment now. And as you mentioned, the Garden of Eden, I love that concept. But how did you find yourself in those positions anyway, like in Kirshner, for example? Because most people who come into trading, especially around the 2015 time, we're coming into it from social media.
Right.
Coming across sort of more different, a completely different realm of trading, right? If you want to call it trading. So what did that look like? If we take it back now, like to sort of the origins, like what did that look like for you? How did you come into trading? Why trading? What was the mindset? Because you can see very clearly, and I'm sure the audience will as well, and it's a breath of fresh air to really see someone who's in tune with that trading mind, that trading process.
Yeah.
But you didn't start there, number one. And I'm very interested to find, how did you get yourself into that, as you mentioned, like being able to that wealth of knowledge, if you have that senior to your right, to get that feedback and that sort of group environment.
Yeah.
Most traders out there who are watching right now don't have that at all. They're by themselves in their bedroom. They're by themselves in their office. They're by themselves, essentially. So how did you position yourself into that environment?
So the origin story, I guess, right? I grew up in a very small town in the panhandle of Texas. There were like 1,000 people in the town that I was in. Very, very small town. And a friend of my brother's who's 10 years older than me, he went to school at Texas Tech and left and came to Austin and started trading stocks. I didn't know anything about this at the time. That was in like 2007, 2008 for him. And he came down here and he crushed it. He did well. There were no super wealthy people where I grew up, right? But this guy came down here, did very well, was a friend of my brother's who I'm very close with. And I ended up getting to experience a lot of things in life through my friend Lynn, who was a great trader and made a lot of money. We went to sporting events, concerts. He had a mansion on the lake, you know, these things that I could never even fathom. And that was the first little inkling I had into like trading. Like, what is this? This guy's making money like this doing this? We grew up where people like work like roustabout jobs, blue collar stuff. You know, if you're super lucky, you can just get a job where you don't get laid off, right? So that was the first view I ever had of trading, was seeing the only really successful person I knew at the time had done it through trading. So that seed was kind of planted in my mind. I went to college. I can relate to your addiction, if you will, to weed. I don't know if you called it an addiction or not, but yeah. Okay. I was a drinker and a drug user and just wasting time. I was directionless, right? And then I ended up getting in some trouble, narrowly escaping a felony. Wow. Which would have barred me from ever being able to trade with any kind of license or anything. You know, once you have that scarlet letter of a felony, you can't get a license to trade. You can't do a lot of things. Wow. So I narrowly avoided disaster. I was hurting my family, hurting myself, and that was kind of a wake-up call. I started focusing in college. I decided, you know, all throughout high school, I made horrible grades. I spent more time figuring out how just to make a C and do the least, least amount of effort possible just to skate by. I decided to make my parents proud, did well in college. Another friend who was a trader, his name's Calvin, a great guy. He got me my first trading job. I left Texas Tech in Lubbock, moved to Austin to trade at a place called Great Point Capital. That was, I think I moved down in July of 2017. That was my intro into the prop trading world. I was on a desk around senior guys. It was a money up shop, right? So we were all Class B partners. We put our money into the firm and you trade your own capital, but you have leverage that you wouldn't have as a retail trader because you have a pool of capital that you've contributed to. And after July of 2017 and February of 2018, there was a trader in our Chicago office who had a massive blow up. And if you look back on the charts, I would encourage people to look at it. That was a day where the VIX, I forget the percentages, but it went up over 30%, over 33%, because there was a levered VIX product, 3x levered VIX product, that was an inverse VIX that went to zero that day. And we had a trader who had, and again, I forget the exact numbers. It's been a little bit, but he had $500,000 in his account, right? And he was a top trader in Chicago, and he lost, I believe, 40-something million dollars, right? Shocking. I had the same look that you had when that happened. Well, when he had that amount of money in and lost that amount of money, the only way for that to be covered was across the other Class B partners. So everyone at Great Point Capital, myself, my account was tiny. I think I maybe had $30,000 in it or something like that. I was just trying to get going and floundering around. All the way to the guys who had millions of dollars in their account. We all took 72% haircuts across the board.
Wow.
So that was I guess that was step 3 in the process we're talking about. Saw Lynn make a lot of money, was a troublemaker, couldn't figure anything out, went to college, met Calvin, who had worked with Lynn. Calvin got me my first job at Great Point. And then 6 months into my Great Point tenure, Great Point basically blew up, right? Yeah. So it was very non-traditional. I stuck around there because it was a great group of guys, and I was learning a lot from them, but they were so busy, man. They were dealing with lawyers. There were guys who had lots of money in their accounts, and they were fighting to figure out what was going on.
Yeah.
Was the firm going to make it? They did make it. This is a thing of the past now. All those guys are still great guys. They're doing excellent. They're all thriving right now.
Yeah.
But at the time, it was difficult for them.
I can only imagine, yeah.
You know, so I stuck around through 2018. I was loyal to them. I have a sense of loyalty. They're kind of who brought me in and gave me my shot. I wanted to stay. And then it was towards the end of the year that I met Kenny, who was at Kirshner Trading Group. He was doing some things with some younger guys, and some of the senior guys at Great Point said, look, man, we're so busy with this. Like, you should maybe take a look at Kirshner.
Mm-hmm.
If they're willing to hire you and give you a chance, you don't have to put money up at Kirshner, right? Maybe you go over and give it a shot. And that was where I went and started working with Kenny. So it was a little bit of luck from being around Lynn and seeing him be so successful. It planted the seed. I never watered the seed early on. I just kind of wrecked my life, right, for a little bit. And eventually, after getting myself back together, that little seed started to kind of sprout a little bit more. And then I started talking with Calvin, and then I got interested. That's when I did the Scott trade there in Lubbock and was trying to trade around and realized that was like totally trading with blinders. You're so disadvantaged trading like that at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Got the first job at Great Point, then Kirshner. Ultimately did fairly well at Kirshner, not a top performing trader by any stretch at all, but was lucky enough that Calvin saw something in me, and the rest from there has been history.
So how powerful has it been for you to have that group environment, that sort of a mentorship, if you will? I think they call them pods, right?
Yeah.
Those trading pods. Like how, because as I said, most traders come into this space nowadays through social media, right? It's quite rare that they come across someone who they knew trades, and especially successfully. So they don't really have an example either. And then they don't have other traders to lean on, reflect off, especially senior and profitable traders they know are making money from trading, to really take their word and really take the things that they're suggesting for real, you know, and trust it. While most of the people they might be looking up to, probably they shouldn't be looking up to, and the words that they're saying, they don't actually know if it's real or not. So then, and maybe the advice they're getting is actually bad anyway.
Yeah.
So how important has that been for you within your career and to get to where you are today?
I would say that it's been paramount. You know, who we trade with matters, I think. Who we trade with matters, and I've been pretty lucky along that route, for sure. For sure. I know it's hard for people trading on their own. I did it for a short amount of time. It feels like an eternity ago. I don't even remember who that person was, right? But even just trading remote, you know, I know a lot of guys trade remote now, and I'm sure there are good ways to do it if you have the technology where maybe you have a camera on yourself and a camera on your buddy, and you guys can see screens or however it works. But I'm a big fan of being in the office. That's maybe a little bit old school. I know people don't like it, but I think that camaraderie that can be built from being in the office, there's a certain kind of camaraderie that's built when we're going through hard things together. You know, if me and you are just chilling all the time, well, okay, we're buddies, we chill. If me and you are in the trenches together, it's like, nah, Riz is my boy. No, Cade's my boy. We fought, we went through the shit together, and we came out the other end. We had each other's backs, and we made this work, and now look what we've done. Look what we've done. It's hard to develop something like that typing to each other on Discord, to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's fair.
So I would say that mentorship, partnership, camaraderie, and working together, ideally in person. I know that's not something everyone can do, but ideally in person is big.
Don't know where the market's going next? Stop worrying about your trading. Just get informed on exactly what's happening in the markets and what to expect. From Forex to futures to stocks to crypto, be on top of it all. That's why tens of thousands of traders are subscribed to Market Journal, a free newsletter that allows traders to keep up to date with the markets every single week. Remember, an informed trader is a profitable trader. It doesn't matter if Trump tweets, AI stocks are pumping, or if Bitcoin drops out of the sky. Market Journal has you covered. Join for free today using the link in the description below. Let's take a break for a minute there, guys, because I want to tell you about our sponsor, TradeZella. TradeZella is the #1 trading tool for all traders. It doesn't matter whether you're a crypto trader, a futures trader, or a Forex trader, whatever trader you are, all you do is connect your trading platform directly with TradeZella. It automates and makes your trading journaling so easy. If you want to be a profitable trader, you need Trading Edge, and that is exactly what TradeZella does. It allows you to identify edge, maintain your edge, and optimize your edge by automating your trade journaling, in-depth analytics, back testing, bar replay, and so much more. Now, WOR gets you 20% off your yearly subscription with TradeZella, so use WOR for 20% off your yearly subscription, or Riz10 for 10% off your monthly subscription. The link is in the description below. Now let's get back to this episode. What would you recommend for those out there who may have gotten into trading through the social media route?
Yeah.
But they are hearing you, or they've heard others who have gone through the traditional prop firm route or trading pods and like that path. What would you recommend for them to do, or what do they maybe need to do in terms of maybe trainings or certain degrees or diplomas to be able to put themselves in that position, to get into those sort of rooms, to get into that environment?
You know, Riz, man, I don't know if I'm a great source for that, because I don't even know what kind of social media content is really out there. I will say that.
So what I mean by that is it doesn't really matter about that side of things.
Yeah.
In terms of where they've come from.
Okay.
Also, what would you recommend to them to be able to get onto the path that you did, or to get into those sort of environments? Is there certain things that are necessary in terms of diplomas or skill sets or experience that would allow them to stand out or allow them to get hired, for example? Or is maybe networking, or is there certain elements for them to go down your path? The social media side doesn't matter.
Okay.
It's more so that people watching this will realize, okay, here's an actual pathway that would benefit me much better than me doing this alone.
Order filled.
A pathway that will benefit me much better than the sort of messaging that's out there on social media versus the reality and the things that get spoken about in these environments. So that's what I mean by that question. But more so, is there anything specific that you know that they should be focusing on to put themselves in that environment?
The short answer is it just depends. And there's not one clear path in this game or in really any game. There's not one diploma or one skill set that's going to get you in the door anywhere. There's an element of luck involved in everything for all of us. Anyone who doesn't believe that, I think, is being intellectually dishonest, right? There are different kinds of luck. You know, blind luck. You just got lucky and your dad is Donald Trump or whatever, right? You know, there's that. And then there's like kind of like more of like an earned luck where our eyes were open, we were working, we were focused, we were paying attention, we were looking at a chart, we were looking at a story, we got long a stock, and after hours they announced a partnership with Microsoft and it went up 40%. It's like, whoa. Some people might misconstrue that as blind luck. It's not, right? That's earned luck. You didn't know that was coming, but don't downplay it by saying it's just blind luck. You positioned yourself for that to happen. So all of that, to weave that together, I'm not just going on some parable. What I'm trying to say with that is I would encourage people to try to put themselves in a position where they can get lucky. Have your eyes open. There's signs everywhere for those with their eyes open. They're there. There are things you can do. Focus on yourself. Get better. If you want to get hired, be the kind of person that somebody wants to hire. You know, be the kind of person someone wants to work with and be around. You know, if you're miserable all the time, well, I don't want you coming to my office. That sucks. You know, be someone who, if you're lazy, why would we want to hire you? Why would anyone want to hire you? But if you have good energy and you're working hard and you're focusing on yourself, if you're sending out cold emails to places, you want to get hired somewhere, send a cold email, man. I've made millions of dollars sending cold emails in trading. Cold emails that ended up becoming trades. Verifiable, real deal trades from sending an email, looking at a stock that went from 8 to 100, getting on Bloomberg, looking at the corporate action section saying, whoa, this company's from Austin? Like, that's
Order
crazy.
filled.
Whoa, their headquarters is right down the road from us? That's wild. I'm going to find the CEO. I'm going to send him an email. Send him an email, tell him I'm a fellow Austin boy. Hey, you looking to do anything? Yeah, we are. Do a private transaction, make a trade. You know, it was one of the craziest things ever. If you can think of doing something, try it, give it a shot. You know, I wish there was one concrete answer to give everyone, but I don't think that there is a certain path. And I don't think a good mentor even necessarily says, hey, this is the path. Come on. You know, a good mentor awakens within a student the ability to see something in themselves that they didn't even know existed and to carve their own path and find their own way. You know, send that email, make that call, send a handwritten note, find the address and send a handwritten note, find the address and show up. You know, just give it a shot, man. Give it a shot. If you're trading, if you're out there and you're trading on your own and you want that environment, find an environment you want to be at and give it a shot, man. What's the worst that could happen? The worst that could happen is you still trade at home alone, right? Riz is with me. That you have no downside.
Yeah.
Think about it like a trade. That's a great trade. It's totally asymmetric. You have no loss and unlimited upside. That's a good trade. I'd take that trade all day.
100%. I love that. I love that. And that is a great answer. Even though I know I get your point in terms of there's not one solid answer, but I guess the answer you gave is a solid answer in terms of putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
Being the person that you need to become to even think that you get in the door. Because I always say to people as well, when it comes to profitable trading, is like, imagine when you picture you as a profitable trader, what is it that they're doing? Like, how are they acting? What is the environment? What does it look like? What does their routine look like? And then if you reflect and realize you're not doing any of that now, then the reality of you know what I mean? You already kind of know what that looks like. So why aren't you doing it? You know? So the same principle here is like, if you have an idea of what it would take to be in those environments, but you're not that person, to your point, it's a prime example of, and again, as you said, there's no downside. What's the worst? The worst thing is you just go back to exactly how you were.
Order filled.
It's excellent.
One question I did want to ask you, because you mentioned it, I mentioned it, in terms of having those addictions, right?
Yeah.
Do you think, and this is your personal opinion, so there's no right or wrong answer, but do you think someone can be smoking weed or regularly drinking and still perform as a trader? Like, have these sort of addictions, have these things that kind of impact the mind and its clarity and its way to process information and still be successful in trading?
The short answer is yes. I think that they probably can. The long answer is that success is a relative term, right? What success means to me might not mean the same thing to you or to someone else out there listening to this. So if success just means some dollar amount, like, oh, I want to make, $1 million a year. I'm just kind of pulling that out of my ass, right? For easy trader math, $1.2 million a year, $100,000 a month. Could you do that and smoke weed and drink and just sort of be a lifestyle guy? Probably. You could probably do that, you know? Is that successful? To me, no. And I think that if you can perform while still having all these vices and not doing the things you should be doing, why don't you try getting your life right and seeing how much more clear and focused you can be and seeing if you can retrain your mind to reframe and rethink about what success really even means. You know, there's success beyond just financials. Having a good relationship and a good body and a good mind and good health and good financial stability, all those things together make success. And can you make it trading, smoking, and drinking? Probably. I couldn't. But, so I also, I'm also an extremist on stuff, man.
Yeah.
People that know me can probably tell you that. It's, I'm all in, I'm all in on trading. And when I'm drinking, I'm all in. I'm all in. So it's not something that's balanced for me.
Yeah.
And it affects all aspects of my life. I wake up cloudy and groggy. I miss breakfast. Then I'm kind of behind. Then I eat a shitty lunch because I'm hungry. Then I'm tired in the afternoon. You know, we're coming up on the close. I'm not focusing right on stocks. Then I get into a, you know, like a psychological wormhole where I'm upset at myself for what I've done, right? Because a lot of anxiety for me comes from the gap between who I am and who I'm trying to become.
Mm-hmm.
And if who I am is somebody that's drinking and smoking and doing all these things, but who I want to become is this elite trader, well, there's a gap there. And when I'm fucked up and hungover, I'm not growing to that person I want to be. And and I know that. I'm being wrong to myself. I'm being wrong to myself. And if I'm being wrong to myself, I'm going to be wrong to you. I'm going to be wrong to my fiance. I'm going to be wrong to everyone. If I can't even be right to myself, I'm definitely not going to have any room to be right to other people. I'm not going to be a good partner. I'm not going to do well. I'm not going to grow. I'm not going to succeed. So again, once again, to weave all this together, can you have success in smoke and drink? It depends on your definition of success.
Mm-hmm.
What success is to me, can I do that while being addicted to booze and smoking and everything else? No, I can't.
That's a side question off the back of that. Have you seen anyone who has been addicted to these things have success? And again, I know success is subjective. But have you, through your career so far, witnessed anyone perform well in when it comes to trading, like P&L wise? And then P&L just be, I don't know,
Order filled.
6-figure level, maybe 7-figure level. Have you personally witnessed anyone who's done that?
No. Not even close. Not even close. I'm sure they're out there, but no, for me, no.
I think the problem I've always found is that there will be someone out there. And again, we don't know. A lot of the time, the ones that people will come across on the social media, no verification, no proof of profitability. Putting that all to one side, though, let's say there is one, or maybe a handful. The problem is I've found, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, is that a lot, and I think it happens in trading a lot as well, where let's say there's one trader who made $100 million. A lot of people then go, I can be that guy, right? I can be the outlier who managed to do it. The one who managed to do that one thing that people say is impossible, can't be done. I'll be him, without really reflecting on anything else, any other external factors, whether it's process or how much sacrifice or how much risk or any of these other things. And I personally think that's a dangerous mindset to have, where you will consistently think, I will be the outlier as well. And I'm not saying people should have a limiting belief that they can't achieve something. But I also think that they need to be more realistic in their expectation of what it means to make a certain decision or set a certain goal. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
I think that you're spot on, man. I think there's a fine line between limiting beliefs and intellectual honesty. You need to be honest. And if we want to be $100 million guys, which I am not at this moment, right? For full disclosure, I'm not a $100 million trader. I just started getting into the multi-million-dollar club 2 years ago. After 8 years of floundering, I became an overnight success. 8 years in the making, right? Yeah. So there are people who have forgotten more than I know about making huge money, but I'm around $100 million guy every day, and the sacrifices are big. The stress is big. The weight is tremendous. That there's a lot that goes into that. That's the intellectual honesty part that people have to be aware of. It's not Lambos trading from the beach, just blasting off and working only a few hours a day and having all this freedom. That's fake news, man. And that's what's kept me from doing this kind of thing. It's like, I'm out there doing it. I'm out there trading. So I'm not consuming a lot of content. I'm not really consuming because I'm creating, right? I'm not necessarily creating content, but I'm trading. I'm creating instead of consuming. And when I got the opportunity to do this and immediately kind of shrugged it off like, no, man, I'm not doing that. And then it was pushed by our mutual friend, Mike, like, no, you need to look, this is different. I promise. I was like, whatever, man, it's not different. And then eventually I talked to Falak and I looked at what you were doing and I said, oh yeah, this is kind of different. You know, he is creating a different kind of content. And I had to sort of check myself and say, okay, I don't really consume any trading content because what I've seen has been horseshit. No offense to horseshit. Right? But that's literally how bad it is.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know what the right answer is, but I know what the wrong answer is. And whatever these guys are talking about, that's wrong. Right? This stuff that I've seen is just trash. I don't even need that getting into my mind.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm just sitting out here like being a critic and I'm not consuming any of it. And then I started seeing what you were doing and I was like, oh, okay. You know, over like the last week or so, I've gotten familiarized with what you're doing. And I was like, okay, I like to think of myself as not consuming a bunch of content because I'm creating, I'm out here doing. Well, maybe I need to check myself and maybe I can create some content if I think the content out there sucks.
Yeah.
And then I get just by some happenstance associated with you when I'm not even trying to do this. Like I said earlier, there's signs everywhere for everyone that has their eyes open. Like, how did this even happen? I'm not on Twitter. I'm not on anything. I have no idea how we made this happen. But here we are, man. Here we are. So we're creating content. I don't even know how we got started talking about that.
No, but man, to really just go off what you said there, I really appreciate it. And I'm actually super, super grateful that this has happened because I think this is, in terms of insights into process and the mindset and, you know, even though there's been a bunch of topics outside of trading, the way that you articulate things, which I'll ask you about that as well. But in terms of, from my reflection, a lot of that articulation and that deep level thinking has been a direct correlation to the level of input you put into your trading that has accelerated your mindset to a different way of thinking, a different way of deciphering information and also displaying that information as well, being able to explain the thought processes and the way that you to look at things. And I think it will be so eye-opening to the audience, especially considering as well, a lot of the time when we went verified on the podcast and we've invited guests, a lot of people are veterans in terms of like 20, 30, 40-year veterans, right? So you're probably, I would say, one of the younger guys who've come on. And you've been at an age when you came into trading is similar ages to people who got into trading probably at the same time, right? But through a different avenue, different ways. And they will be able to reflect, hopefully, and that's the aim, as we talked about, is like be able to reflect on, okay, here's someone who's had a similar background, similar struggles, similar pain points, similar limiting beliefs. And yet look where he's at now. Look what he's achieved now. And also to be able to hear you explain it yourself. It will do wonders. I have no doubt that this has been a phenomenal. But we're not even done. We're talking as if it's finished. Sorry. But what I'm getting at is, though, is super incredible. Yeah. And I'm super happy that you did decide to do it, simply because I'm excited for you to see the response, which hopefully might inspire others who have a similar mindset to you. And you guys rightly have that mindset. I said it to you outside, right? Like, there's a reason why I come to you, because you have no reason. Like, you're literally doing me a favor, essentially, to come on the podcast. You have no other benefit, essentially, right? And I'm sure there's loads of other traders in your exact position where they may have had a message from us or other people maybe as well, and they've said no. But hopefully this could be something that may open their eyes to what this possibly could be, and our aim of shaping the right mindset. And as you said, rather than consuming, but at least in your position, being able to create the right narratives, the right lessons, the right paths for the future traders and existing traders now to make the right choices, and just be able to reflect as well on what they have been consuming and really go, okay, well, this guy's talking in a completely different way, but making sense, right? And showcasing what elite level trading mind looks like versus the things that I have been consuming so far. Not to say that absolutely everybody on social media is talking nonsense, but I would say 99%, 98%. There is that very small number, and thankfully we've managed to highlight some of those voices as well. But honestly, Yeah, let's get back into the conversation. Yeah, it sounds like we're thinking.
Yeah. No, let's do it. And before we do, just to take a second to acknowledge how professional you're being about this. It's initially you were going to be in Dallas, and I think we wanted to meet on a Monday or a Tuesday or something. And I was just like, look, hey, that can't work.
Yeah.
I can't come to Dallas and skip trading to go on a podcast and talk about trading.
I love that. Yeah.
And I was like, that just doesn't work. And that was the end of the conversation. It was a 2-second conversation. And then it was like, hey, you know what? Actually, we'll come to Austin and do it on Sunday. And I was like, okay, this guy gets it. He's being flexible. Like, I just told him how it was. Like, look, I'm not coming to Dallas during a trading week to skip trading and talk about trading.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense. That's not happening. That's
Order
not happening.
filled.
Yeah. So I appreciate you coming here and thank you for all the kind words. Hopefully can help someone along the way. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely will. Like I said, I'm super excited for you to see the way this comes out and the feedback as well, because that's what matters most, right? And for you to be able to, even though, like, again, there's no personal benefit outside of that, right? In terms of any other angle other than the fact that I've asked you to be here and you're here and you've shared so much. But I guarantee you there will be, even if it's one person, but there will be more, but one person who becomes a profitable
Order
trader
filled.
off the back of just one conversation, which is crazy to think.
Right.
That's the reality.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to think as well, on average, we'll have 100,000 people maybe watch an episode. I think this, I'm not going to say anything, but it could do a lot more.
Okay.
But that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Right? And, you know, even if it's just one, but there will be a lot more.
Yeah.
There'll be a lot more. But one thing I wanted to ask you in terms of, if you reflect back, like, because I think some people have a limiting belief that you can't change too much about yourself. That you can't, if your mindset's a certain way, if you lack patience, if you are a greedy person, if you struggle when it comes to your psychology, and generally not just trading related, but even in your everyday life, if you're a certain demeanor and a certain personality, you can't change. So I'd love for you to just share with us maybe a reflection of like who you were before really focusing on trading, and especially right now, but who you were, you know, when you were on the wrong path and you were messing things up for yourself. And even when you were not profitable in your trading and you were trying to trade, in comparison to now, like, is that an entirely different person, would you say? And what were the things you've talked about in terms of practices to shape the mindset?
Yeah.
But were there certain things that helped shape certain personality traits that were necessary to be successful in trading?
So there's a lot going on there.
That is a lot. Sorry.
No.
I didn't make that easy.
And I'll try to stick with it. And I do have a tendency to ramble. So if I get off track, bring
you bring yourself back already.
Bring
so many
me
times.
back in.
Great.
But the only bad mindset is the one we're stuck in. Right? Oh, I'm an aggressive guy. That's what I do. Well, sometimes you need to be delicate. Aggression isn't always the right thing. To have a default of being aggressive is great. You need to take aggressive action when the time's right, but sometimes it takes a more gentle touch. You know, loop that back in with jiu-jitsu. I'm going to just attack all the time. If you just attack somebody and they know it, well, guess what? They can, when you start to attack me, I can know that's coming. I can lean back, grab you, and throw you through the wall. I know what's coming. I know you're always aggressive, right? But then you can fake the aggression, and then you start to have these decision trees, right? And what was the initial question?
In regards to being able to change who you are.
Changing who you are. Yeah, changing who you are. Don't get stuck in some limiting belief, right? Don't get stuck in some mindset. Be flexible. Learn who you are through doing, right? If I don't learn who I am through my past experiences and who I want to become, and this goes for everybody, if we don't learn who we are and get comfortable with that, somebody somewhere in the world's going to tell you who you are. If I don't develop a vision for myself, I'm going to become a part of somebody else's vision. And then I'm going to wake up dead one day. That's life. That's all she wrote, right? Be honest with that reality that could happen. And that should scare you. You should want to avoid that at all costs. And when I was younger, back to what you said, when I was not focused on trading, I was directionless, you know, and it wasn't just weed. I was using all kinds of drugs. I was just anything to just get high, just party, be directionless, whatever. Nothing was off limits. I had no real self-respect, you know. I had no goals, no clear focus, no one holding me accountable. It was a very empty and directionless state of being. And if we can realize that there's more out there than that, we can make the change. It takes clear effort to make the change. I do believe it takes a village. Like I said earlier, one of the hockey sticks for me was a great, at the time, girlfriend, now fiance, and then a mentor saying, hey, you can do this. You know? So going from some drunk, drug-using, directionless, heathenistic kid to saying, you know what, I want to be a pro. I want to be a pro at something. I want to be successful. What does success look like to me? I'm not going to take this person or that person's definition of success. I'm going to create my own. I'm going to figure out what success means to me. It means happy, healthy, wealthy, things like that. Good relationships, good friendships, good mentorship, paying it forward if and when I can, which is kind of how I find myself here. And caring about something a little bit more than yourself. You know, you can probably relate to this a little bit with your addiction to weed. When I was addicted to all these different substances, and by the way, I'm still no saint. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. But when I was doing all these things, I was being selfish, man. That's just selfish, childish, shitty behavior. I'm disrespecting my family who put so much into me as a young kid. I'm just throwing my life away. I'm not accountable to anyone or anything. Start to think about things bigger than yourself. You know, I don't have a family of my own yet, but I want to have one someday. I want to make them proud. I want to do a good job. Right now, I'm trying to make my parents proud and my older brother and sister proud, right? The mentors who helped me, I want to be like, hey, this wasn't wasted time for you. Let's go do it. Let's do it. Let's be the best we can be. Right? Let's live a good, strong, healthy, wealthy life. Let's do this. Let's not have all this wasted effort, you know? A higher power for some people, right? Believe in something more than yourself. If you're in this selfish, boxed up state of mind, and I think some of that selfishness kind of leads into trading, right? Give me the money. Give me the money. I'm getting into trading. I want to get rich. Yeah. I've got these problems. What's the one way to fix the problems? To get rich. That's the mindset I had when I first got into trading. And I think that's why I never really succeeded, right? Because then once you hit this level of, you know, air quote success, you know, and it's different for everyone, but let's say you want to make $1 million. You'll do it at all costs. I'm burning the candle at both ends and in the middle. I'm sick. I'm tired. I'm all this stuff. I've burned every relationship. I've clawed and scratched my way to making $1 million. I've reached the mountain, right? I enjoy it for a moment, and then wherever you go, there you are. Now all of my problems still exist. My money problems are fixed, and I'm not trying to say that I would rather have less money than more money, right? There's no nobility in poverty. We want to do well financially, or, you know, if I'm just speaking bluntly in trader talk, we want to get fucking rich. That's why we're doing this, right? That's why we're doing this. But if I'm in this selfish state of mind over here, not caring about anyone or doing anything, and I do get rich, it's going to crash and burn, man. It's going to crash and burn.
Order filled.
And I have seen that with my own two eyes with people. And they never even really hit the huge levels, but they made enough where they could kind of do whatever they wanted. And whatever they wanted was not healthy and not fruitful, and they're not in the game anymore.
Do you want to win 7 figures in challenges without having to do anything at all? Seems too good to be true, right? Well, at propfirmtrader.com, that is exactly what is possible. You are buying prop firm challenges anyway. Well, at propfirmtrader.com, not only will you get the best prices and be able to compare your prop firm challenges, but by automatically using the code PFT, you automatically get entered into this weekly giveaway where you can win over 7 figures in challenges. All your favorite prop firms are on propfirmtrader.com, just like broker-backed prop firm Atmos Funded, backed by Torex. The fact that they are broker-backed means that you have stability and security when it comes to your payout. Once your payouts are approved, traders are receiving them in less than 5 minutes. They have instant funding, one-step accounts, and two-step accounts, meaning that whatever type of challenge you prefer, they have one for you. Thousands of traders over the last couple months have joined Atmos Funded, and over $200,000 has been paid out in just the last 6 weeks alone. And they are giving an exclusive offer at 50% off all challenges, again using the code PFT, so make sure you go do that right now. But not only do we have Atmos, we also of course have Apex Trader Funding, the largest futures firm in the entire industry, with up to 90% off using the code PFT, up to 20 accounts, and up to 6 million in futures funding. You can also find Alpha Capital, who also have one-step challenges, two-step challenges, and three-step challenges just for you. So no matter what type of challenge you prefer, they have an option. And not only that, we have Funded Next, one of the top 3 CFD firms in the industry, and again, an exclusive offer through PFT. Check it out on screen. The link for propfirmtrader.com is in the description below, so make sure you check that out. And remember, use code PFT at checkout at all your favorite firms and automatically be entered into the massive 7-figure giveaway every single week. Now let's get back into the episode. That's what I was going to say. Like, even if they had that goal, because of that selfishness and that mindset, in the end, they made the money, but then it's all gone in the end anyway.
Gone.
One interesting sort of thing I observed there is like, and a huge observation that you see in the general advice for trading is you need to kill your ego. You need to have no ego in trading. But then equally, as you said, in trading talk, you know, we need to make fucking money.
Yeah.
So where does actually ego fit into trading, right? Where is it actually necessary or help your trading?
I feel like I'm copping out, and this is our CIO's favorite answer, but the short answer to that is, again, it just depends, man. It really depends. I do believe that 99 times out of 100, checking your ego and having like an ego death kind of thing, to get a little more far out, is a good thing. It's a good thing. But something I like to try to do is, instead of having an ego death, just acknowledging that, you know, I do have an ego. That's kind of why I got into this. And instead of trying to kill off that part of me, I understand that it's there. It doesn't control me. I control it. And there are times where I need to check into my ego and understand, okay, yeah, I could make $100,000 on this, but if we sized it up and we did it right, and we had a conversation about it, and I didn't want to hoard it all to myself, you know, we could maybe beef it up and make $1 million. Why not? Why not? And if we can make $1 million, why not make 10, 20, 50, 100? That's the ultimate goal, to scale, to grow as a person and grow as a trader, grow your chip stack, and be able to cultivate your process such that mentally you can handle the big risk and just scale and grow, and it goes infinitely. It never ends. It never ends. Success in life and in trading, to me, is not a destination. It's a direction. I want to go